Hello, everybody. How's it going? Welcome to another episode of an experiment called Life with Alex McKenzie. That's me. As always, this episode is brought to you by Punchline Nutrition. Punchline Nutrition, for all your supplement needs, go there, check it out. I recommend Neuro Boost. I take it every day before I do my morning writing and before I do a podcast or do any comedy. And that's what helps keep me mentally sharp and all chipper. So go to punchlinenutrition.com, check it out. Use the code ATJ at checkout, save yourself 25%. And the Happy Camper Comedy Tour, it is coming to an end, man. This show started April of last year, of 2024, and we have maybe half a dozen shows left, I think, maybe just over that. So check it out. We're in Ontario and the Northwest Territories coming up. Go to alextellsjokes.com. Grab your tickets. Oh, and we got some shows in the Lower Mainland, Port Moody and Vancouver. So you're going to want to go and get those tickets and come on out. Now this episode is a very interesting one. So it is about me breaking my sobriety. So I wrecked it, man. I screwed up. It's been probably 10 days now, and I finally feel okay enough to talk about it. So I thought I would do it now while I feel okay. But yeah, I had 13 months with no alcohol, and I drank, the beginning of February when I was back in Vancouver. Now, I had a couple things I was going to run through on it, on why. So why did I drink? What caused me to break my streak? And number one, I think, is that I completed my goal. Something I've noticed in life is that, like, anytime you have a goal, once you complete it, it's, like, really hard. You're like, okay, I did it. I think the best example of this is, like, you look at UFC fighters, and they rarely defend the belt. Like, they become the champion, and then they rarely defend it. And I think it's because the goal was to become the champion. And then you did it. So then you lose that drive, you lose that fire. And that's where greatness comes in, or those people that are like at the top of the game, and how you keep staying at the top of the game when you're there. Eminem has a sweet line about it with his rap career where he goes like, how do you keep up the pace and the hunger pains once you've won the race? And so that's pretty good. So I think that's one, which I think shows it's important to, I think it's why we always tack on more goals. So then you're like, oh, you tack on another one and another one and another one. Like I've done with my comedy career. I am already well ahead of where I ever dreamed I would be. Like right now I'm in London, Ontario, in a very nice suite in this nice hotel. It's just a Sandman hotel, but it's a very fancy room. I really like it. And I've got a nice rental car, and I'm doing a fancy venue tonight at, I think it's Alonian Hall. And like, this would have been a dream come true. Like, this would have been the end of it all. You're like, oh, if you could ever get to here, you're done. And now you're here, and you're like, but I'm not selling out the arena. I'm not selling out the giant theaters. So you always want more, But I think that's why it's important to celebrate the things along the way, but then keep working towards new ones. So anyway, having said that, I am recommitting to my sobriety, and I'm going to get right back on it and do at least another year, hopefully longer. Another reason that I think led to the thing was like a bunch of small losses over a period of time that then lead to a big one. So like this summer I started using nicotine again, which I chewed tobacco for 15 years, probably longer. And then I ended up quitting when I went to Australia the first time in 2020. And then I started dating a girl this summer who was vaping, and then I got on the vaping, and the nicotine just sunk its claws back in. And I found those were like small little losses. Like every day I'd wake up and I'd either be vaping, or recently I got on the nicotine pouches because I didn't like my lungs getting torched every day from the vaping. So I was on those, and then what else? Oh yeah, then I started eating out. Generally I just cook. I like cooking. I genuinely do. It's one of my favorite things to do every day is to cook. And that's when I got over there, I'm staying in a hotel room. But last night, first thing when I got to town, I went to this great Atlantic superstore and got myself some groceries, and then came here and cooked myself a beef gnocchi. And this morning, after this, I'm going to make a nice egg omelet. And I like cooking, but these little losses, like I like wake up in the morning, have some nicotine, and then you're like, I could just go to Tim Hortons and get a bagel belt. And then you're getting a bagel belt, and it's like these little losses that eventually end up leading to a big one, because you're like, I don't know, you're just chipping away at your willpower, or showing some weakness in the armor. And then that led to, and then what ended up happening, so I had like these small losses, so I completed my goal, had the small losses, then I had a big moral failing. So that happened when I was out on the East Coast. I always think I'm ready to be a husband, I'm ready to be a father, and I am not. And I learned that because when I was out there, I met a very lovely lady, and I was hanging out with her and talking to her, and we spent quite a bit of time together. Like, I spent my first week in Moncton with her. And then I liked her so much, I invited her to come to Halifax when I went there. But what ended up happening is when I was in Charlottetown, then I met one of her friends, and I was like, I like her friend too. Her friend is very nice. And so I went on a couple dates with her friend, and then I was like talking to both of them. And what ended up happening is obviously eventually they ended up talking, and everyone ended up talking. Then it became this, I was a bad man. I was just talking to two girls, and they were both friends, and then everyone ended up getting hurt. Which probably the person who hurt themselves the most is me out of it, because I felt like such a piece of shit. Which rightfully so. Like, I should have just picked one or talked to neither, or, been more honest with them about, hey, I like both of you. I don't know. Or... yeah. Anyway, it showed that I'm very weak to like temptation. Like as soon as there's like, here's a nice, lovely girl giving me attention. But you're like, here's another one giving you attention. And you're like, give me all the attention. I need it all, please. And it just showed that I don't know, I'm not a strong character. And when you think of like if you're going to be a husband or a father, like you can't have any of that going on. Like, you have to be very committed, very strong, not weak to temptation. Don't because there's going to be, especially being a touring comedian, like there's going to be a lot of opportunities where you're going to meet people and have opportunities to, I guess for lack of a word, cheat on your partner. And you have to be strong enough to turn those away. And I mean, I don't know, maybe strong isn't the right word. Maybe you just shouldn't even want that. Like, that shouldn't even be an idea. Like, you should love your partner so much that you don't even desire that other thing. So I don't know. But anyway, that showed a lot of moral failings for myself. I was very upset with myself. And then what ended up happening is then I was in Vancouver, and there was another lovely lady that I had an opportunity to spend time with. And I took it out of, like a lot of it would be out of like comfort. You feel like shit. You're like, already upset. And then this other person's like, hey, I'll come hang out with you. And you're like, okay, this is great. So then I had that lovely lady come and spend some time with me. And that's who I ended up drinking with and doing drugs with. And it sucked. I just really let myself down. And I don't know. It's like that thing. It's like, well, why'd you do it? And I don't know. Like, I'm trying to figure that out myself. And the things I came up with is like, well, you already completed the goal. You had all these small losses of doing things you didn't really want to do that were kind of coming in and bringing out the addict in you. And then you had this moral failing, which led to like you being very upset and seeking comfort. And then you had an opportunity for comfort come around and you took it. So I think that's how I ended up here. But what I do want to do is I didn't want to dwell on it too much. I did do very well. I did 13 months without alcohol. And now it's time to start again. And I always think there's so many good lessons to be learned from this. So things that I did learn from it. Number one is that I am still an addict. Like, I just crave any kind of dopamine. And comfort is a big one. Like, it's like any opportunity I have to get some external validation, I'm like seeking that. Obviously, I'm a comedian traveling around the country, telling jokes. That is, you're seeking the approval of strangers. I know what I'm doing. So that's there. The other one is I'm very weak to temptation. Obviously, it's like if the opportunity presents itself, it's pretty easy to be disciplined when there's no opportunities coming your way. But I've got a lot more female attention lately as I cut my hair and I lost a bunch of weight, and then my comedy career is actually looking like it's probably gonna work. So it's pretty easy to be strong when there's no temptation, but now when temptation is arising, you are showing your weakness. So I got to figure that out. Work on self-discipline. And then something that I'm very happy about is I'm like, thank God I didn't have a good time, Like, thank God afterwards I felt like shit. And I'm like, you need to get this together. Because what if you did that and you partied and you're like, this is awesome. And then it just like, you're like, dun, 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 carried on. And then 6 months I would be like, just everything would be gone. I'd be selling these Jordans on my feet. I'd have no money left. I wouldn't have any new jokes. My comedy career would be falling off. So I'm very, very grateful that you're like, okay, like your conscience kicks in and you at least have the right compass to know that, hey, that lifestyle isn't the one you want. You want this one. You dipped your toes back in. You tried it. You don't like it. Go back to the other one and like keep working. So I'm very happy about that. And then also I'm just like excited because now like I am quitting nicotine. I haven't had any for like 5 days now. And I've been very grumpy. I've noticed that I am chewing so much gum. You're just like, give me gum. Just need some sort of oral pleasure. Chewing gum, eating lots of food. I gotta cut that out next. And then, gotta get on that Ozempic, son. Get that Ozempic in me. Just one substance to another. What can fix me? Please help. Anyway, that's me breaking my sobriety. Now I'm clear conscience, came out about it, and I love you guys. Thank you for listening, and I will, go check out the Happy Camper Tour and Punchline Nutrition, and I will see you guys soon. Take care.